Hello and welcome to today's presentation. Today we're taking a look at the custom guest documents in Roomkey PMS. So an overview of today's presentation, we'll start with some introductions, as always, with our webinar. Then we'll dive right into taking an overview of the different guest reports that are available in Roomkey. We'll talk about using the Fast Report tool to customize those guest reports. Then we'll look at how to format some common questions that we get about formatting some common questions that we get about formatting text and fields using that fast report tool. We'll also take some time today to do an overview of the invoices and statements that can be generated from the City Ledger module inside Roomkey, and how we can use or the same tool, the Fast Report tool, to create and manage templates for those types of documents in the City Ledger. We'll wrap up today's presentation with a summary and Q&A at the end, as always. So our introductions for today, my name is Tasha LeClaire. I'm a trainer and implementation specialist with Roomkey. Joining me today, I do have our Director of Customer Experience, Mr. William Tam. Now, I'll be leading today's presentation and all of the demonstrations on screen. If you do have any questions during our presentation today, go ahead and click the Q&A button in the Zoom webinar presentation. You'll be able to ask a question and William will be able to answer during the presentation, or if we have those at the end of the presentation, we can include those in the Q&A and summary. Couple more items about today's presentation. It is being recorded and a copy of the recording will be made available on our support website this week. You'll receive a notification from us once that webinar is available on our support website. For those of you joining our live presentation today, we do have a webinar survey that appears at the end of our presentation. If you have any comments or feedback, we would really appreciate to hear from you. We always like to have new topics suggested as well. So thank you so much in advance for participating in that survey. Now let's dive right into our very first topic. Let's take a look at an overview of the different guest reports available inside Roomkey. Three common reports that we'll be talking about today are the confirmation letter that is sent out when a guest makes a booking and you confirm with them their booking details. The next common one that we have is the registration card or reg card that is presented to the guest whenever they check in that allows you to give an overview of your policies and provides an opportunity for the guest to review those details and sign at the bottom as part of their check-in and registration. Then we also have the guest folio document. This is the invoice or final bill at the end of the guest stay. We can customize this document as well. So let's dive in a little bit closer to each of these documents and the features that make them unique. Let's starting with the confirmation letter. This is just an example of a standard confirmation letter that comes with the default confirmation letter that comes with every Roomkey database. Along the top left-hand side, you'll have the guest contact information, their booking details, so their arrival, departure date, length of stay, the room type. We'll also include their payment or method of guarantee. In this example, it is a credit card on file for the guarantee, but if the guest is using a direct bill or guaranteed to a City Ledger account, that would note the City Ledger account instead of the payment method there. Off to the right-hand side, we have a summary of the charges that are expected during the guest stay. So that includes room charges, other charges for any additional services or add-ons, as well as taxes. This summary will also include a note if there are any deposits on file. So if there's a deposit that's processed during the booking process, that deposit will be noted here. And then, of course, any outstanding balance due for this guest stay. Now, if there are any add-ons or services added to the guest booking, those will appear in the guest services section right below the summary of charges there. If there are no guest services for the reservation, or if you don't offer any additional add-ons at your property, this space will be blank. There will be no fields appearing on your confirmation letter. Below the guest services is the daily rate details, sometimes called the daily rate breakdown, which will show the daily price throughout each night of the guest stay. In this example, there's a rate change. So the first two nights of the guest stay are $300, and the third night is an increase up to $350. So trying to be very transparent with that rate changes based off of that daily rate details there on the confirmation letter. Now, below the daily rate details is typically our confirmation notes. Now, these can be customizable, and I want to show you where you can actually, one of the first areas that you can customize, which is these notes here that are found on the confirmation letter. Typically, you'll also include a policy information. Um, so it could be the booking and cancellation policy, as well as a salutation included in these confirmation notes. So I'm just going to switch over to a demo database here for Roomkey PMS, and I'll show you where you can customize those confirmation notes. In System Configuration, you'll navigate to the Property module. Once the property module opens up, you can navigate up to the top here where you can click on confirmation notes. You'll click on the modify button off to the right hand side, and that will now allow you to edit any notes that are added to that confirmation note field at the bottom of the confirmation letter. You'll also note that we have a space for a second or alternative confirmation note. This is often used if you offer your confirmation information in a second language. You can add that in French or Spanish or whatever is applicable for your types of guests, added as a second or alternative note. And then we also have the option to add any salutation regarding the cancellation. So when a guest cancels, you can include a custom salutation or maybe a request to or offer to see them next time they're able to stay at your property. Now, just going back up here to the confirmation note, you'll see that there is a salutation here, but this particular database also has some free-form code at the top here. You have curly brackets and the word policy written in there. And what this allows me to do is actually add a dynamic policy based off of the type of reservation the guest has booked. So if your property only has one booking policy that is applicable to all of your types of bookings, you don't need to use this dynamic code. You can simply type in your policy directly into this confirmation note. But if you offer two or more types of policies, maybe a standard policy and an advanced booking policy, or maybe a group policy, you can use this dynamic code, and what this tells Roomkey is that it's actually going to pull the policy text from those specific policies directly onto the confirmation note to make it dynamic depending on the type of booking that the guest has made. So that's the scenario here. Once you have added your confirmation note and any additional details, you'll want to click the OK button off to the right-hand side. Now, I want to show you where you can edit any of that policy information if you need to update your standard policy or any other policy information and you're using this dynamic code in this confirmation note area. Instead of using the property module, what you'll do is just exit out of here. This time, to change the policy information, you'll go to System Configuration and you'll access the Policy module. Here in the policy module, you'll see a list of your active policies. This is the standard policy for this property. You would click the Edit button, and down here in the policy text, this is what is pulled through onto the confirmation note. So if you needed to make any edits to that dynamic text, you can make the edit in this policy text area, click OK, and then you can go ahead and edit any other policy text if needed. This database has a second policy, which is used for prepaid and non-refundable bookings. Right. So let me just head back to our presentation here. Wonderful. So very quick and easy way to change some of the basic elements that confirmation note on your reservation confirmation letters. Now let's take a look at the registration card or the reg card that is presented to the guest for their review at check-in. Couple of features here include the guest info, booking details, and payment guarantee that appear in the top left-hand corner. Off to the right-hand side, we also include a summary of charges and a daily rate details, or that daily rate breakdown, just like we saw, very similar to what we saw on the confirmation letter. Below those daily rate details, we do have reg card notes. And very similar to those or to the confirmation notes, we can actually customize these in the property module. Now, I do get some questions about what the difference is between a confirmation note and a reg card note. Your confirmation note is going to have that policy information. Your reg card note is going to have more details about your policy for guests staying at the property or in-house guests. So that can include this example here where we have a non-smoking policy at this property. You might have a pet policy or your check-in and check-out time or any parking policies you might want to include here. The nice thing about including more detailed policy information is that as part of the registration or reg card check-in process, you do have a signature line that appears at the bottom of your reg card. So that encourages the guest to review those policies, and by signing at the bottom, they're agreeing to all those policies that they have reviewed on this registration. So let's take a look at where you can customize those reg card notes. Back here to my demo property, I'm going to go back up to the system configuration and open that property module once again. There we go. This time at the top of the screen, I'm going to go directly to reg card notes. You'll click Modify off to the right-hand side, and this is where you can add in or edit your policy information that appears at the bottom of the registration card. So like I mentioned, this has a non-smoking policy that is noted. It also notes that there is a $200 charge in the event that a guest smokes in the guest room or common areas there. So once you add your policy information here, you can click OK, and that will now save for your registration card. Hey. Last one here is our guest folio. So from that same type of booking, this time the guest info and booking and payment details, these are summarized towards the top of the guest folio because the primary purpose of this folio is to list out those charges and payments as well as any tax details or a tax breakdown for the guest. Typically, we're presenting this guest folio to the guest at checkout. So we have that breakdown of all of the charges incurred during their stay so that the guest knows what is owed at or what balance is owed at the end of the stay. Now, if there are any payments recorded, those will be included in this list of charges and payments. Below that is a signature line. So if you do have a policy at your at checkout at your property, you can still have the guest sign for those charges as an additional agreement for paying those charges on file. Now, below the signature line, we do have a guest folio note. Many of our hotels will just include a simple salutation. This is an example, just letting the guest know we're giving thanks for choosing this hotel. Some properties, if you are choosing to have your guest sign for these charges and provide a signature on this document, many properties will opt to have a disclaimer listed as part of this guest folio note, where you might include verbiage like, by signing above, I agree to pay for all charges noted during my stay, some sort of verbiage like that, but totally up to you because, of course, you can customize what this guest folio note says on each and every document here. So let me just jump back over to my demo here. And as you may have guessed, in the property module, to edit the guest folio note, you'll find that tab at the top of the property module. You'll click Guest Folio Note, click the Modify button, and this is where you can edit that text there. So this property is pretty simple. It simply says thank you to the guest for choosing this hotel. And then if there's any changes you make or any additions you add there, you just want to make sure you're clicking OK in order to save those changes. Wonderful. So just heading back here to our presentation, bit of an overview of those different elements and some very simple customizations using those note fields at the bottom of each document. Now let's take a look at how to do some more advanced customization. And this is going to be using a tool called Fast Report and using a button or tool called Customize Guest Reports. So we've already seen that we can use the property module to add confirmation notes, reg card notes, and guest folio notes. There is one additional button or tab that is moved off to the right-hand side, slightly hidden there, just as an advanced way to customize your guest reports. So in the top right corner here, you'll see a tab that says Customize Guest Reports. You may have to use the toggle buttons at the top of the property module to move over or scroll over in order to access this tab. Now within this tab, it gives us the ability to use the Fast Report tool to design a custom registration card, a custom guest folio, or a custom confirmation letter. Now, when you're first getting started with Roomkey, your trainer and onboarding specialist will often use these tools to add your property logos and maybe do some simple customization for your brand new database. When you open up these customization tools, it's going to open up a tool called Fast Report. So this is just a screenshot of what that Fast Report tool looks like. It's quite a lot going on here. If you're used to using any Word software or maybe document editing, there are some fields here that may be familiar to you. But just as a general overview, we have a couple of labels that allow us to give an overview of what all the different fields and things that you're looking at on this Fast Report tool. At the top of the screen, you'll see that a large bar across, actually double bar, and this is used for text formatting. So if you're used to using Word or any other sort of word processor tool, you might be familiar with things like adding bold lettering, italics, maybe changing the font size or orientation of those font within the text box, things like that. That is all the text formatting along the top. Now below the text formatting on the left-hand side, we have a left-hand panel. The top half of that panel are your tools and object selections. So that allows you to navigate around the page that is displayed on screen. And below that in the bottom left-hand corner, those are your field properties. We'll definitely take a look. I have an example of editing those field properties we'll look at together today. Off to the right-hand side is another panel. So this vertical panel on the right-hand side, this is a list of all your data and variables. Now, each document is going to have its own set of data and variables. So to keep things a little more simple, we will have a new support article published on our support website that will list out what all of these different variables mean. Some of them are pretty straightforward. So if you're looking on the right-hand side, you might see something that says reservation ID or arrival date. Those are obviously the reservation ID and arrival date of the particular reservation for that template. But some of them are a little more obscure. So just to make things simple, we will have a document or a reference document on our support site that will go through all of these variables so you are able to understand what they mean and what they relate to as fields or variables inside Roomkey. Now, right in the center of this fast report tool is your page template. So this is what we are actually editing whenever we whenever we customize the document itself. This is just an example of the layout or page template for a registration card. And if your database is set to use the default, this is what the default page template would look like for that registration card document. Great. So moving on, let's take a look at some formatting or how to format text and fields and some common questions that we do get. I have 3 videos here that we'll take a look at one at a time with some basic formatting. Like I said, if you're brand new to Roomkey, your trainer and implementation specialist is going to go ahead and do this first one for you. They're going to add the logo to your different documents. But if you ever need to change your logo, you would follow these same steps included in this first video here. One thing to note as well, all 3 of these videos use the same document. We're going to be using the reg card document as an example, but the fast report tool and all of the steps we'll look at are the exact same, whether you're editing the reg card, the confirmation letter, or the guest folio. So let's take a look at how to add a logo to the reg card. So you're going to start from system configuration and go directly to the property module. Once this module opens up on screen, you'll toggle to the far right-hand side and click Customize Guest Reports. Now this time we're going to click Design Custom Reg Card, but you could be designing a guest folio or confirmation letter. Now in the top left-hand corner, this field is a picture field, so you'll double click and you'll have the option to load in a custom logo. So this is going to open up a file manager from your computer. You can select the logo that you want to use and click the green check mark. That will now place that logo into your page template. Now you can double click on that field again to load a different logo, or you could click the clear button to remove the one you just added. And of course, save any changes or click the red X to keep your existing logo. Now, when you close out of the fast report, it's going to ask you to save your changes. I recommend that you click yes, yes, and then OK on this final confirmation there. Now, to test out your changes, you can view report, or what I like to do is actually go to an actual reservation. In this case, I have an arrival that I can take a look at the reg card. So once the reg card pops up on screen here, you should be able to see that new logo that you added on this print preview. Great. So that's a bit of an overview of how to add a logo. Like I said, you can use those same steps to change your logo if needed, if you ever have branding updates. Next, let's take a look at how to move and format text on that page template. So this example is going to use that same document. We're going to edit some text on the registration card. What I want to do is actually move the room number field over to the top right-hand corner. And I also want to make the room number itself populate in bold. So we're going to do some text. We're going to move the field. We're going to make the text bold. And then I'm also going to scroll down to the reg card note where we have our policy information noted, and I want to make that text larger. So I'm just going to increase the size of the text and make it more prominent on the registration card. So in this video, I'll start from the same place. I'll go to System Configuration and open up the Property module. I'll scroll to the far right-hand side so I can click on Customize Guest Reports, and now I'll click the Custom Reg Card button. This opens up my Fast Report tool, and I'm going to look for the room number field. So we have a room number um, label that I'm now going to move over to the top right-hand corner. You can resize these fields as well, so I'm just going to resize it to a little bit skinnier there. And now I'm going to take the variable for the room number and align it with that room number title. And I do want to make that room number in bold, so with that field selected, I'll just use my format, bold format at the top there to make that field appear in bold. Now, when I scroll down, I also want to take my reg card note, those custom notes, and I want to make these larger. So I'm just going to increase the size of the text. And I also want to realign it. So I'm just going to make this center alignment there. Make sure that it's nice and prominent whenever the guest is reviewing those at check-in. Now, again, whenever you close the FAST report, it's going to prompt you to save those changes. Recommend that you do so. And once those have been saved, you'll receive a confirmation or information there. Now, again, you can view that report, but I'm actually just going to go look at that for a live reservation here. We'll look at that reg card once again. Here I can see that my room number appears in the top right-hand corner in bold, and my policy information is now more visible at the bottom of my screen. Excellent. Now, I have one more video. Another common question that we do get is how to delete fields or remove fields from a custom report. Typically, we recommend that instead of deleting a field, we recommend that you hide the field. So this allows you to keep the field on screen or on that template. You can hide it though. So whenever the reg card in this example is printed, it will actually hide fields. I believe this field, we're going to hide the agent field in this example. Now, the benefit of hiding a field instead of deleting it completely is that when you hide the field, if you change your mind and you do want to have that field visible at a later date, you don't have to recreate the field and realign or format the text. You can simply change the visibility. So that's what this demonstration is going to show here. So once again, we'll start from the system configuration and open up the property module. We'll scroll to the Customize Guest Reports tab and click Custom Reg Card. When this reg card opens up, you'll notice that I have this field called agent. I don't really want this to appear on screen, so I'm going to go down to my um, field properties. And in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see this property called visible. You're going to change it from true to false. So you just remove the check mark there. We'll do the same for the variable field. On the bottom left-hand corner, you'll remove the true checkbox, so it is now appearing as false visibility or no longer visible. Again, when you close the Fast Report tool, you want to save those changes as you close out. Once those changes are saved, you can view the report, or once again, I like to go directly to a reservation and view that live in Roomkey. So we'll just go back to my arrivals here and click the reg card. And now once that opens up, that field, the agent field, is no longer visible on the printed document. But I do retain the field and values on the template so that if I needed to make a change or if I wanted to add that information back in, I don't have to recreate those fields. I can simply make that visible once again. Excellent. So that's just a bit of an overview of some of the common questions that we do get regarding formatting text and fields uh, on those custom guest documents. Now let's take a look at an overview of invoices and statements. These are specific to the city ledger. So whenever you have direct billing or you create and manage invoices and statements for an account or business account or organization associated with your property, all of that is contained within the city ledger. We do have a full training module on our City Ledger training that has been available on our support website. So if you'd like more information about creating and managing those types of City Ledger or direct billing accounts, definitely check out that earlier webinar there. But for this presentation, I wanted to take a deeper dive into invoices and statement management in the City Ledger there. So on screen here, I have an example of what a typical account statement would look like. Now, at the top of the screen on the left-hand side, we have the account info. So that's the contact information and maybe a specific contact person or department on behalf of that organization. In this example, this is a tour operator or a wholesaler. So we have their accounting department contact information in the account info. Off to the right-hand side is a statement summary or summary of this particular statement for this account. We can see details like the statement date, any outstanding balance that is due or owed to the property on behalf of this company or organization. We also note if there's any credit on file for the organization, so that's noted as well. Now, below the account info and statement summary is the aged summary. That includes a breakdown of the amounts that are owed, and it's over an aged progression. So whether there's any current amounts owed within the last 29 days, any amounts owed between 30 to 59 days, 60 to 89 days, and anything that is owed has been owed to the hotel for the past 3 months or 90 days or more, with, of course, that total balance at the end there. Below that age summary is a list of outstanding invoices that make up that summary there. So you'll see individual invoices listed as line items below, including their invoice number, the name of the invoice, the dates of stay or the dates that that invoice was incurred at the property, the length that that invoice has been owed, or the age of that invoice, and then of course the invoice balance. So this is just a statement or summary of what is owed to the hotel for the account itself. Now, this is different than an individual invoice, which would show an breakdown of individual charges. So that is a common question that we get, the difference between an invoice and a statement. So this invoice is going to be further breakdown into this list of invoices at the bottom there. We have two types of invoices that you may encounter depending on the type of business that you offered direct billing. So the first type of invoice that you might, or the most common one actually, is a guest reservation invoice. And this is typically used whenever you have direct billing available to an organization or a company, um, meaning that the company has guests that stay at your property, and instead of the guest paying for room and tax charges at the end of their stay, those charges are then invoiced to the company or organization that they're associated with. So that resulting invoice appears something like this. We have some similar features at the top of the screen. You would have the account information and then a summary off to the right-hand side. But instead of having summarized, we actually have a breakdown of the details of that guest stay. So that includes the reservation ID and the guest name. And then it also includes a breakdown of all of the charges that make up that invoice. So we can see here that this was a 3-night stay in February. So we have 3 room charges and a final or total balance due at the bottom here. Now, similar to the guest folio, we would also include a breakdown of the taxes. So if there's any taxes that are associated with these charges in this invoice, those taxes will be have a breakdown at the bottom of the page as well. Now, if your property offers any direct billing for groups, you may encounter a group invoice, which is a variation of this type of invoicing. The top pieces of information are similar, where you have the account info and a summary off to the right-hand side. But instead of having a charge breakdown for one guest, because this has been created as a group with direct billing or city ledger billing, all of the guests that were part of that group will have their charges appear here on one single invoice. So for example, I have this guest reservation ID, the guest name, the room charges specific to that guest, and the balance owed for that guest. Then I have a separate section with the next guest reservation ID, guest name, charges, and total as well. Now, these invoices tend to be longer. They tend to be 2 or more pages, depending on how many get group guests were involved in that group. But at the bottom of the group invoice, you will still have that tax breakdown, just like we saw on the guest reservation invoice. So you'll still have that total balance due for the invoice and this tax breakdown at the very end. Now, if you would like to know more information about creating and managing billing for a group with direct billing or city ledger billing, definitely check out our group webinar presentation. We do go into more detail about how to create those types of groups, how to manage the billing or set up the billing routing and things like that in the groups module directly. This is just an example of what that result looks like in the city ledger after the guest has checked out and when you are ready to invoice the company. Great. So now that we've seen a bit of an overview of those statements and the different types of invoices that we have available for Roomkey, let me move forward here in our presentation. Next, we'll take a look at how to create and manage these templates. And again, this is going to be in the City Ledger module. So I'm just going to open up the test database here once again. And this time I'm going to go to the operations menu and access the City Ledger module. You can also click F8 on your keyboard to quickly open up the module itself. So here in the City Ledger module, you have the ability to create an invoice template or create a statement template. Both of these are created separately, so one for statements and one for invoices. Here, let's just take a look at an example using the statement template. So select Create Statement Template. On screen, this will give me the City Statement Designer. Now, in the City Ledger module, you will always have access to the default template, and that will, by its nature, be the default selected. So that default template is what we saw in that overview we just took a look at in the presentation. To create a new template, you'll toggle over to the Templates toggle. If you have any templates stored, you'll see them listed here. And at the bottom here, you have the ability to create a new template. Once this opens up, this may look familiar now. It is the same fast report tool that we encountered when we were customizing those guest documents and guest reports. This time in the template editor or the City Ledger template editing, at the top of the screen, you'll see the ability to format your text at the top. On the left-hand side, we have those panels for formatting and page navigation. You also have the ability to format your your field properties in the bottom left-hand corner here. Off to the right-hand side, we have those variables and data. And just a reminder that these variables are unique for each type of document. So this is the account statement and the different variables that are available for this type of document. We will include account statement and invoice variables in our support reference material. So you'll be able to see what or the details of what each of these variables mean. Again, they can be straightforward. So for example, account here in the account section, the variable for city name, address, city, zip, country, etc. Those are pretty straightforward, but we do want to make sure that you're comfortable with those variable meanings. So some of them may be a little more obscure there. And then of course, in the main part of the screen here, this is our page template. And the example that we're looking at is the account statement. So if you do want to do any of those edits, they're very similar to what we looked at for the custom guest reports. If you want to add a logo for your statement, you can double click on that picture field, load a logo stored on your computer, and click the check mark to confirm, and that will add your logo there. If you want to edit any of your fields or to modify any of the formatting, that's available at the top of the screen. Now, if you are managing any of your formatting for your field properties, for example, this is a picture field, you will need to use your field property tools in the bottom left-hand corner. So in this example, I might want to make this center justified. So here in my field properties, I can select the center check mark and make that a true center so that it is now centered within that field. You can also make items bold. So if you want to add your balance due, make that bold so that it stands out for the organization. You'll select that field, and at the top of the screen, you can use the bold formatting there. Just like we saw with the other fast report tool, when you close this document, it will ask you if you want to save your changes. Now, what you'll note here is that it's actually going to save and give you your name for this saved template. So this is going to be version 3. I'll select yes. You do have the option to add a custom report name. So I might just say statement with logo and click OK. This now lets me know that this has been successfully saved. When I click OK, it will close the Fast Report tool for me, and it will now show me my new template that is included in this templates toggle. Now, if you want, you can always go back and use your default or use that template there. Now, when it comes to accessing your templates, when you are generating statements or invoices for your different accounts, you can go from this area. If, a reminder, I did use the create statement template in order to access the statement designer. But more commonly, what you're more likely to do to generate a statement or an invoice is to actually open up the account. So here, I would double click on the account itself. And at the bottom here, to access the statement, I'll click Print Statement. This will give me access to the statement, and you'll notice that it does go back to my default option, but I can toggle over to my templates option, select the template that I want to use, and I can send that directly to my contact information on file, or I can click Show Report, and this will now generate that print preview with the ability to either save or print directly from this preview. Of course, that now shows me my template with my logo and that bold formatting that I added. Great. Uh, Let me just close out of here and we'll head back to our presentation. Excellent. So a bit of an overview there of how to create and manage your templates, whether they're invoice templates or statement templates directly inside the City Ledger. Now to wrap up our presentation, we've had an overview of the different guest reports. We did take a more detailed look at that fast report tool when we were customizing guest reports. We looked at some common questions that our team does get with regards to how to format text and fields using the fast report tool. We also took a look at an overview of different invoices and statements and how they some similarities but also differences for different purposes there in the City Ledger module. And then of course an overview of how to create and manage templates related to those invoices and statements. So I'm just going to open up the floor here to see if there's any questions regarding any of our topics in today's presentation. Great. So if you do have any questions, go ahead and click the Q&A button. Um, we'll be able to answer any outstanding question. I think we got a little extra time here, but it looks like there is no questions yet. Let me see. Okay. So it looks like there are no outstanding questions. So thank you everyone for joining in for our presentation today. Um, If you do have any questions, we do have the survey at the end. You can ask any questions or add any recommendations for any future topics you'd like to see in our future webinar presentation. This is our last webinar for 2024. I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday season, and we'll see you in 2025. Thanks, everyone.